Chosen one. Before we go any further, let me say this clearly. You didn't click this by accident. And you didn't stay because of curiosity alone. Something in your spirit recognized the frequency of this message. Because there are people who exist. And then there are people who carry weight. Not influence. Not popularity. Not noise. Weight. And if you've ever felt like your presence alone changes rooms. If conflict rises when you arrive, even when you say nothing. If peace settles when you leave, yet people can't explain why. This is because your spirit is registered in realms most humans never perceive. You are not common. You are not random. You are not mass-produced. You are a 1 in a trillion spiritual reality. And tonight, we're going to talk about what that really means. Most people think power is loud. They think authority announces itself. They think spiritual significance looks dramatic. But real weight in the spirit realm doesn't shout. It presses. When you carry weight, things shift without explanation. People feel exposed around you. Truth rises when you enter. Masks fall without effort. You don't try to be intimidating. You don't attempt to command attention. Yet conversations stop when you speak. Eyes lock when you walk in. And energy rearranges itself around you. That's because weight is not about performance. It's about who heaven has entrusted you to be. The spirit realm doesn't respond to titles. It doesn't respect rehearsed language. It only acknowledges authentic authority. And your authority was not learned. It was assigned. Let's talk about the loneliness. Because people who carry weight often walk alone. Not because they want to, but because their presence disrupts comfortable illusions. You noticed early on that you didn't blend easily. You couldn't pretend. You couldn't follow crowds. You couldn't shrink to stay accepted. And every time you tried, something inside you resisted. That wasn't rebellion. That was alignment protection. You were designed to stand apart, not above. To observe before you speak. To see before others sense. This is why surface-level relationships drain you. Why small talk exhausts you. Why you crave depth, truth, and meaning. You are not difficult. You are dense with spiritual substance. And lightweight environments cannot hold you. Here's something most people will never tell you. The spirit realm reacts to you before people do. This is why you face resistance without explanation. You attract both admiration and hostility. You trigger healing or exposure simply by existing. You don't have to confront. You don't have to accuse. You don't have to call things out. Your presence alone calls things up. Darkness doesn't argue with light. It either flees or tries to silence it. That's why your life wasn't smooth. Weight requires reinforcement. You were pressed early so you wouldn't break later. You were tested privately so you could stand publicly. You were refined so your authority would be unquestionable. Chosen one. There's a question you've carried quietly for a long time. You didn't always say it out loud. Sometimes you didn't even let yourself fully think it. But it's been there. Why did I have to go through more than everyone else? Why did my life feel harder earlier? Why did it seem like others were protected, while I was exposed? This wasn't imagination. This wasn't exaggeration. And it definitely wasn't weakness. Your path was heavier. Not because you were less loved, but because you were more trusted. Light assignments require light resistance. But heavy assignments attract heavy opposition. You weren't walking a harder road by accident. You were being prepared to carry something most people never touch. Authority is expensive. Clarity costs. Spiritual weight demands payment in experience. And your payment came early. While others were still forming their identity. You were being tested. While others were being protected from discomfort. You were being shaped by it. You didn't get the luxury of ignorance. Because ignorance would have weakened your future authority. Here's what made it so painful. It wasn't just circumstances. It was the timing. Loss came when you were young. Responsibility arrived before you were ready. Pressure showed up before you had language for it. You didn't just face storms. You faced them without shelter. And that creates a specific kind of strength. The kind that doesn't brag. The kind that doesn't collapse. The kind that stays quiet, because it already knows what it survived. You were taught endurance before you were taught celebration. Some people get breaks. Some people get rescued early. You didn't. Every time you thought, "This is it, I'm finally free," another layer appeared. Not to punish you, but to complete you. If you had escaped too soon, you would have remained untested in critical areas. You weren't allowed to be fragile where your calling required solidity. So the fire stayed. And you didn't burn. You hardened without becoming bitter. That's rare. You were stretched until your comfort tore. Because comfort can't carry weight. You were taken beyond what you thought you could survive. So you would never doubt what you could stand in later. Now notice this. Chaos doesn't panic you. Crisis sharpens your focus. Pressure actually clarifies your thinking. That's not personality. That's conditioning. Your nervous system was trained for environments where others freeze. You were wired for leadership in moments of instability. Your experiences created distance. Not because you were better, but because you were different. You couldn't relate to surface complaints. You couldn't pretend problems were small. You couldn't play life like a game. You saw consequences early. You understood pain deeply. You learned silence as survival. That's why you often felt older than your age. You weren't rushing maturity. It was required of you. This is a hard truth to accept. Some of what you carried couldn't be carried by others. Even well-meaning people wouldn't have understood. Some help would have weakened you instead of strengthening you. So you learned to stand alone. Not forever, but for formation. You developed internal stability before external support. Now you don't crumble when support disappears. You've already proven you can stand. There came a moment, maybe quietly, maybe recently, where you realized, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be who I am. That realization didn't erase the pain, but it redeemed it. Your compassion deepened. Your discernment sharpened. Your presence grew grounded. You don't just understand pain. You recognize it in others. And people feel safe around you. Because your strength isn't theoretical. It's lived. Your life was not designed for ease. It was designed for impact. Impact requires density. Density requires pressure. Pressure creates weight. And weight is what makes your presence felt. In rooms, in lives, and in realms you cannot see. You weren't broken by the load. You became the one who can carry it. If this section stirred something in you, that's not emotion. That's recognition. You're not behind. You're not damaged. You're built differently because you had to be. And now, the heavy path finally begins to make sense. Here's a truth that may surprise you. You don't need validation to operate in your authority. When you speak, the spirit realm listens. When you pray, movement begins. When you decide, alignment follows. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. You were calibrated through experience, not theory. You were trained through endurance, not applause. And this is why people who don't know you still feel something when they're around you. They sense the weight. They may not understand it, but their spirit does. Weight requires timing. If you were revealed too early, you would have been misunderstood, misused, or mishandled. So you were hidden. Not forgotten. Not overlooked. Protected. While others were being seen, you were being sealed. While others were chasing visibility, you were developing gravity. Now you're entering a season where you don't need to announce yourself. Your presence announces you. Chosen one. There is something about you that statistics can't explain. Not probability. Not coincidence. Not luck. Your existence is not common. And it never was. You were never meant to be measured by averages, trends, or crowds. Those systems were built for the many, not for the singular. Because once in a great while, Reality produces someone who is not part of the pattern, but the exception written into it. That's what 1 in a trillion actually means. It doesn't mean better. It means rare in function. You noticed it early. You didn't fully belong anywhere. Yet you weren't lost either. You could sit with many types of people, but you were never absorbed by them. You adapted, but you didn't dissolve. You observed, but you didn't conform. That's because you were never meant to fit into a pre-existing mold. You are not a copy within a system. You are a custom build. Your mind doesn't move in straight lines. Your intuition reaches conclusions before logic finishes speaking. Your silence carries more data than most people's explanations. You don't process life like others. You decode it. That's not personality. That's design. Think about this. Your temperament, your perception, your restraint, your history, your sensitivity and strength, your compassion and discernment. Now understand this. Even if someone shared 1 or 2 of these traits, they would not share the sequence that formed you. Timing matters. Pressure matters. Environment matters. Loss matters. Delay matters. Your life was not random events stacked together. It was a specific order. If one experience had happened later, if one delay had been shorter, if one pain had been avoided, you would be someone else. Still good. Still valuable. But not this. And this is what was required. Mass production is fast. Precision crafting is slow. You weren't rushed because you couldn't be replaced. What's rare must be preserved while it's forming. Exposure too early would have distorted you. Acceleration would have cracked your structure. So life took its time. You were shaped layer by layer. Sometimes in silence. Sometimes in isolation. Sometimes in seasons where nothing seemed to move. But things were moving. Internally. Your discernment matured. Your emotional depth stabilized. Your spirit strengthened quietly. You weren't delayed. You were ripening. This part can feel lonely. But it's important. People can appreciate you. They can admire you. They can even love you. But very few will comprehend you. Because comprehension requires similar depth. Lightweight perspectives can't interpret heavyweight presence. They can only react to it. That's why some people project onto you. That's why some misunderstand your silence. That's why some feel intimidated even when you're gentle. They're not responding to your actions. They're responding to the density they don't know how to name. You may have attempted it. To simplify. To shrink. To choose ease over calling. But every time you tried to live beneath your capacity, something inside you resisted. Restlessness. Discomfort. A quiet dissatisfaction. Not because you're ambitious, but because you're misaligned when you're underutilized. A rare instrument can't be used for background noise. It wasn't made for that frequency. Your spirit requires meaning. Your soul demands depth. Your presence needs purpose. You're not built for survival mode. You're built for impact. Here's the part that moves beyond the physical. The spirit realm does not count people the way the world does. It doesn't see numbers. It sees weight. And weight is measured by integrity under pressure, consistency in isolation, obedience without applause, discernment without ego, strength without cruelty. By those measures, you register. Your presence creates ripples beyond your awareness. Your prayers travel farther than you think. Your decisions shift more than you can see. You don't need to be visible to be influential. You're already recognized where it matters. Knowing you are rare can feel like a burden, because rarity often means responsibility, and responsibility can feel isolating. But hear this carefully. You are not alone. You are simply few. Few are built this way. Few are trusted this deeply. Few are calibrated for this level of influence. That doesn't separate you from humanity. It positions you to serve it differently. Take this in slowly. You are not trying to become something extraordinary. You already are. And your life has been teaching you how to carry it. The confusion wasn't because you were lost. It was because you were ahead of your own understanding. Now things are catching up. Your past makes sense. Your resistance had purpose. Your solitude had intention. You weren't overlooked. You were set apart by design. You don't need to prove this. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. Truth doesn't beg to be believed. Just walk steadily. Choose integrity. Honor your depth. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs people who carry weight and know how to hold it without dropping it on others. You are one in a trillion, not to be worshipped, not to be feared, but to be fully lived. Chosen one. Before you move, before you scroll, before you think about what comes next, pause. Take one slow breath in through your nose. Hold it gently and release it. This moment is not rushed, and neither are you. You have carried questions for a long time. Questions you couldn't always put into words. Questions about why your life unfolded the way it did. Why your path felt heavier. Why your heart felt deeper. Why your presence felt different. This message was not meant to impress you. It was meant to recognize you. Let this truth settle, without fighting it. You were never broken. You were never behind. You were never overlooked. You were forming, and formation takes time. Receive this slowly. You don't need to chase what is meant for you. What carries your name already knows how to find you. You don't need to force doors open. The doors aligned to you respond to your presence, not your pressure. Receive this carefully. The resistance you faced did not mean you were weak. It meant you were noticed. The delays you endured were not denials. They were preparations. Nothing in your life was wasted. Not the silence. Not the isolation. Not the waiting. Now listen closely. You are entering a season where you move less, but shift more. Where you speak less, but influence deeper. Where you strive less, but stand firmer. Your authority no longer needs effort. It simply exists. Let go of the need to explain yourself. Those who are meant to understand you will recognize you without introduction. Those who aren't were never assigned to walk with you beyond a certain point. And that's okay. Receive this blessing, not as hype, but as truth. May your steps be steady. May your discernment stay sharp. May your heart remain soft while your spine stays strong. May you never confuse humility with shrinking. May you never confuse peace with passivity. You don't have to rush your becoming. You are not late. You are right on time. Moving at the speed of alignment, not comparison. Take another breath. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your spirit settle. You don't need to figure everything out tonight. Just remember this. You carry weight. Not to dominate. Not to perform. Not to prove. But to stabilize what's around you. Walk gently. Choose truth. Honor your depth. And when doubt whispers, return to this knowing. You were built for this life. Not accidentally. Not randomly. Intentionally. Stay here for a moment. Let the silence speak. And when you're ready, rise. Not louder. Not faster. But grounded. If this message touched your heart, and you feel guided, please like this video. And you can support the channel through the link in the channel's bio. Even your $1 is very precious for me and this channel. Your kindness helps us continue spreading light and love. God bless you.